Does your TV still have rabbit ears? Is the question I'm posing. Initially, you'll see a few slides, and I think you'll see some similarities between what I'm saying and I think what Lucy said. But what I'm going to try and do is focus on the content aspect of it and the rabbit ears aspect of the debate. So what am I talking about exactly here? What's that? Sorry? It's TV. Thank you very much. What are they? Yeah, there we go, rabbit ears. Does anyone here have a television with rabbit ears? No? No. This was kind of inspired by a guy, Shanselman, you can follow him on Twitter there, who went and looked at a load of icons that we constantly use. Everyone knows that that's a television, but no television looks like that. The second icon there is actually on a lot of smartphones. It's a telephone, but of course, nobody has a telephone that looks like that. What they do, they might have it in an ironic sort of way. I've got one in the lounge. It's not actually plugged in and doesn't work, but it kind of looks retro chic. I think so. And then the final one there is, of course, that's the icon for download and save. It's for saving, and I haven't seen a floppy disk in a long time. So this is probably fine. Looking around the audience, I'm thinking, yeah, you kind of get this. This is all right. You can remember when televisions did have rabbit ears, or some of them can, and when telephones did look like that. But a whole new generation hasn't got a clue. These are very kind of weird images to be using, because the devices they're using don't look like any of the icons that we use to represent them. And I think that kind of says something. I think when Lucy was speaking early on, she showed you the dizzying array of possible devices. And you know, how confusing is it? And that's kind of the issue I want to address. And I want to talk about the impact that might have on the stuff that we might make to go on those devices. So anyway, back to our television. See, now, that's potentially a bit more what your telly looks like, though frankly it probably still doesn't have any dials on the side. That probably looks like an iPad. Spin it round, looks suspiciously like a smartphone. Could be some speakers, I don't know. Microwave. The point that I'm trying to get here is actually there's sort of becoming a less and less dizzying array of devices, and their functionality is becoming more and more combined and converged. So the BBC, when I was still there, I used to run multi-platform production. They was currently saying that they had one service, 10 products, and four screens. One of them wasn't a microwave, though I'm sure you'll be able to get iPlayer on that shortly, because they have to be on all devices. And so here are the current 4 screens that are kicking around at the moment, but I'm not sure. I think even now with the launch of the new iPhone, is that a tablet or is it a phone? You know, what's the difference between the two of them? So as we get closer and closer to this, I think for someone who's worked in this industry for quite a long time, there's always been a big divide between the digital people, you know, with computers, the laptops, the broadcasters. So, you know, the geeks and the lovies. I've made a career being a glovey, which is somewhere in between the two. But I honestly think now that we've really got to stop worrying about that, because before we know it, they're all going to be exactly the same thing. And not only will they provide content, they'll be able to cook your dinner as well. So let's just take the television. As you know, you can now record on it. You can pause live TV. You can rewind. You know, all of this functionality is there. Actually, going back up to that one, pausing TV. Doesn't that suddenly throw up a wonderful opportunity for content? One idea I'm desperately trying to get away, and I'm sharing with this now, and I still haven't got anyone to buy it. It's a pausable game show, because we looked at all of those ones earlier, like, you know, £1 Million Drop or The Bank Job, and there's this incredible tension, isn't there, between, Okay, here's a really exciting game show that you want to play along with. And Davina's going, yeah, but don't forget to play along, everybody. Get your iPad. And you're like, what do I want to do? Am I watching telly or am I playing along? I'm capable of doing it all now because I'm using all of these devices. But the fact that we can pause live TV, how does that open up some of the opportunities that could be there? Because the tyranny of the 30-minute, I think, has constrained content making for a long time. I mean, having constraints is really interesting. It makes you pack a story into a certain time, and it's not a bad length of time to have a story, and an hour and a half maybe for a film. But why does it have to be that length? Can't we stretch time? Can't we contract time? Can we start to think about the stuff we're making? Because I think the technology will be there shortly, and the audience is with it to allow us to do stuff that's actually completely different. Whether anyone will buy it or not is a completely different kettle of fish. I was a multi-platform commissioning exec, so I used to get very excited about all of this, and I'd go and talk to my colleagues, and they'd tell me to sod off. Anyway, another little anecdote here. So this was freaking me out at the weekend. My mum's coming to stay, and she's got Sky, which is awesome. She loves sport, so she said, I'm coming to stay, but I want to watch the cricket. And I was like, well, I don't have Sky. I'm sorry, I've got Virgin. And then someone said, I was telling this to somebody, and they said, oh, well, you can get Sky Go. So I don't know if this is strictly legal. And you are recording this, so I'm sorry, Murdoch of some description. I got my mum's account, and I've now got Sky on my iPad. So I can watch my mum's Sky, which is brilliant. So I'm not paying any of the subscription, and I get all the sports channels. But I did it because my mum was coming to stay, honestly. And when she goes, what? That's not a good excuse. It's not a bad one. It's better than I snuck in, stole her details when she wasn't looking. So anyway, and then I get it back and I go, all right, yeah, that's good. I can watch it on the iPad. But wouldn't it be great to have it on the telly? That would be awesome, because then I'd have proper Sky. And so then I reached into my back pocket and remembered that I got an Apple Store voucher, because when I left the BBC, they gave me a £100 Apple Store voucher, which you couldn't spend online on music or anything kind of useful like that. You had to go into Apple, and I could have bought one of those really nice kind of cases for my phone, or a cable, perhaps. I don't know, something like that. And then I saw Apple TV, £99. Put everything on your iPad, on your telly. I was like, get in. So I went down. I bought the Apple TV for £99, and then opened it up, very excited. I almost filmed it like in an unboxing kind of moment, but I didn't. And got it out, there wasn't a cable in there. So I went and bought an HDMI cable. That wasn't cheap. But then I get it back, and I turn the telly over, and it doesn't have an HDMI input. So I've gone from getting free Sky to using Apple TV, which is sort of free, to going down Richard Sounds and buying a brand new £400 television. So then I'm like, look, it's going to be worth it, because my daughter's really excited about, Nick Jr. and all of that kind of stuff. So I plug it in and then hit Sky, and then there's the little button that you can hit that goes, it's like the whoosh, and Sky have disabled it. So it sends the audio across, but it doesn't send the video. So after all of that, I've got a new TV and an Apple TV, and none of it works, which is really irritating. I don't think I'm making a terribly interesting point with this, but I just thought it was a funny story, and one that we should think about when you're kind of making assumptions about your audience and what tech have they got. Because obviously I'm an early adopter and obviously minor criminal, but I think that we have to be cognizant of who's got what and where they are. So what devices have our audiences got? What are they using? How are they using them? And also, what things are they doing on them? Because I think that goes on. There's a plethora of places to interact and get involved, but actually, what are our audiences doing? So, very similar picture. The only major difference is being in black and white. You may notice that actually most of the presentation's in black and white, because I thought it was cool. Our viewing habits and our consumption of content is obviously changing from the one TV, everyone's doing it, sitting in a room, to the most used picture in broadcast presentations ever. Everyone I've ever spoken to, any broadcaster, any production companies use this picture. And it actually is true that something like 60% of all viewing is solitary, apart from Saturday nights, when it's all about the teenage girl, I seem to remember, because everyone clusters around her, whatever she's watching, focus on that. This is a little tip. It's nothing to do with connected TV per se, but mum wants to talk to the daughter, and then the dad just likes sitting in there because he gets his whole family in there, and the teenage son will kind of put up with it if it's all right, and that's how you get X Factor. No, I think that's true. And then there's this picture. So this is from the 2010 Super Bowl, and apparently this is the future. So all of the kids that they're watching the telly and they're kind of using their devices and doing stuff, although actually secretly. I reckon he's the one who's actually watching the telly. I don't know what the guys at the front are doing. But I think we can get really excited about this, but I'd love to ask all of those kids, what are you doing? Are you actually interacting with the Super Bowl? Are you on a device? Are you on a platform like Twitter or Facebook? Are you talking about what's happening at the Super Bowl, or are you doing something completely different? Are you doing some things together? Are you networked? And I think the answer is probably there's a mixture of things going on. So that for me, there's just a word of caution, because I know that from some research that I've seen, there's this chatterboxing. So these are some results about people using second screens whilst using television. So 46% of people who are between 18 and 26 do it on a regular basis, and it goes down. And that's not a particularly surprising curve, but of course that will increase as the young people get older, the old people die, and then I suspect that the younger people will do it more, or they'll do something else that we haven't thought of yet. But I think the interesting thing is that they're talking about stuff, they're using stuff, but what are they talking about? And it's surprising how many people are watching TV and having nothing to do with what's going on. So I think that you're talking to your friend, you're doing your homework, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's diverse and it's different, and it's probably distracting from the wonderful television program that you've made, and it's probably not the brilliant second screen application that you've built. Because people do what the hell they want to do, and I think that what we need to do to a certain extent is provide content that allows them the freedom to do what they want to do. So going back to the pausable thing, is that they can suddenly stretch time, they can alter it, they can think about things in a different way, and so the content that we make has to be cognizant of that fact and give them the flexibility to do it, to make the cup of tea, and it doesn't matter, or to bet on the result, or whatever it is. I mean, lots of broadcasters in the States are kind of really getting into this. CBS have built CBS Connect. Join the conversation around your favourite CBS shows below. It's probably quite successful, but I would imagine it's tiny in comparison to Twitter. Why the hell would you go and do CBS's stuff? What are they adding? What added value do you provide as a broadcaster or a content provider? Because if there's nothing, if it's just a platform to do it, I'd rather do it on the platform I'm already on, which is, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. But loads of stuff is happening. Games of Thrones. This is something that was set up for a lot of fan art around Game of Thrones, incredibly popular, loads of great stuff there. There is your creativity, will undoubtedly drive other people's creativity, and I think it's up to us to work out how we can harness that in a really great way. I mean, you've got to be careful because, of course, Twilight led to 50 Shades of Grey. So I don't know if you knew that was originally fan fiction for Twilight. So I don't know how many people. I try to avoid the 50 Shades of Grey conversations when they start. I picked that one up, and it's probably everybody knows that now. But I think the point is that there is an opportunity for us to get smart about how we can engage people more, because I think that it's these people who are sitting, loving a show, really getting into it, but are also the heart of the fan base, the people who are really talking about it. And the more we can encourage that kind of activity, even if we don't own it, if we can corral it, if we can encourage it, if we can get people to get involved and share it, I think that's all very positive. Both American examples. One thing that's happening here at the moment, you know, as was mentioned earlier, ZBox, interesting UK idea, started up by Anthony Rose, and but again, we just did a show on Sky called The Angel, but it was on during the Olympics. It was a great show, but it was on, you know, like scheduled against Mo Farah. You're not really going to do anything. Well, you're going to slightly underperform. And we did this amazing ZBox application, which meant that you could go on there and then you could. The idea was the guy who did Phones for You was going to give £100,000 away to one person. So a bit like The Apprentice, he interviewed them on the show, whittled it down, and then picked one of them. So nothing strange there, apart from he didn't know what the business idea was. He was just buying into the person. So lots of jeopardy, a format you understood, but a twist on it. You know, a great idea. And then at home you go, no, pick them, don't pick them, pick them. And we did this live poll to allow people to do it, and we did it on ZBox, and again, I would say that the response was quite limited, and you've got to be, you know, we learned a lot from it, but you really have to think about the fact is, one, I've got a show on a channel that's, you know, Sky One, it's not bad, against the Olympics, not so great, then you've got it on a platform that isn't as big as Twitter, so that's not great, and then you've got a bit over there, so once you've kind of taken it all down, you can learn some stuff from it, but you can probably realise that you're even though you've got a great idea, you're putting it in the wrong place. You're not getting to the right people. George Entwistle's just got the job at the BBC. Work will begin in the autumn on a 2-year project to ensure the BBC creates truly multi-platform content rather than repurposing programming for new devices. So that's kind of what they're doing at the moment. It's lots of iPlayer, rewind, pause, good stuff, really, really great stuff. But I really hope this does happen, because we tried it quite a lot of times. But I think now, but as devices go on and people start to use it, there is an opportunity for us to try to make new content. We need to know that enough people are engaged with it, enough people have the devices with the right functionality on it, but then I think we can start to move beyond the sort of the tyranny of the half hour, or even the tyranny of the cat on the skateboard on YouTube, because digital content is sort of falling into the same box. And if the BBC does it, I hope that, you know, that will change the market. I know when I was working at Teachers TV, first year, I went to talk to teachers. We just launched all of our programs online. I said, you can watch all of the programs online. They went, you can't watch telly on the internet. I said, yes, you can. And we launched just before iPlayer. iPlayer came out on Christmas Day, and I went back to a conference, a teaching conference the following year, and I was like, so, you know, you can watch it online. They go, oh, yeah, I know, of course it has. And our numbers have just gone through the roof because the BBC had made a big difference and they changed it. So I think that we need to look to the broadcasters to lead the way so that they can bring their audiences with them. But in order to do that, they need the ideas to make that happen. So I think if we can find the right ideas, there is a big opportunity out there. YouTube is also an interesting player. They've recently commissioned a bunch of channels, and we were sort of involved in that process. But there's not a whole lot of money kind of going there. There's some, and it's a real kind of Kickstarter for the whole idea. But I do think that YouTube now, in terms of the numbers it can provide, does provide a great opportunity of getting your content out there and potentially monetizing it as well. I don't think it's a new commissioning model for them yet. In the same way, it was interesting talking, you know, about other alternatives like the space or brands. All of these can potentially provide content and provide money for doing that. But what I think we've got to get better is working out how we're going to monetize that along with it. So it's not all about AFP, but I do think that we need to think, here's our great idea. It's 3 minutes long. It's going to work because it's going to reach this audience, and this is how we're going to make some money out of it. So, again, more incumbent upon us to come up with some more business models around it. I kind of learned that in the last 6 months of not being in public service. And then here we go. This is as things are changing. This is a graph which actually, frankly, would have been better in colour, but I wasn't going to get right to the end in black and white and then ruin it all. But broadly speaking, it shows about how this convergence of technology who are going to be the winners and who are going to be the losers. On the top end there, you've got TV manufacturers with internet-connected TVs, the possibilities of tablets, like people like Samsung. I don't know whether TV manufacturers are just going to be making TV, but they're going to make it devices that can provide content. Service providers like Hulu and YouTube are really going to benefit from this. And then content providers is the third one along. I think for people who are making content, there is a real opportunity in this convergent space. Whereas I think free-to-air TV operators are going to find it more difficult. That's why they mustn't just be the free-to-air. So, with the point to mustard, you've got a great transmitter, let's do that, but you have to work the digital side as well in collaboration and in a complementary way. So, I think the landscape is going to change over the next few years, and we'll see. So finally, I have to say something a little bit about us, 2-4, and what we do. And it's more to do with, again, opportunities that are out there for everybody. So we work for the BBC, work for Channel 4 and ITV, but we also work for HSBC, Audi, Volkswagen, Skoda, and we make content for them. And the really exciting bit, and I wasn't sure about this before I joined, was the fact that they're after these really interesting ideas as well. They know that their audiences are using different devices, and they don't just want to make dull corporate video anymore. They want to know how they're going to get it to their audiences, be it internal or external. They want to know how they can build their brand based on really great content. And they're looking for people like us to come up with those ideas. And they don't have, £1.5 million, but they do have more money. Some of these are very rich companies. So I'm going to just finish off by pointing out down the bottom that 2-4 is in blue and yellow, because otherwise I'd be breaking my own brand guidelines. And I nearly forgot that. And I just want to finish off with a film that we've made that sort of illustrates some of the points I'm making. It also illustrates some of the points, it doesn't illustrate some of them, so I'll just quickly explain. We've made some films for DuPont through the BBC. So DuPont funded it, but they didn't want it to just be ads. These are bumpers around documentaries that we made for BBC World. So we've made the whole show, but we've also made some pieces that go online and can work. And they're obviously about DuPont, but hopefully we've done it in a way that balances out brand recognition but storytelling. And also, I think, if you have a look at it, you can look at the quality and the production value involved. You can guess what the budget is and go, blimey, there might be some opportunities to work in this space. What it doesn't have, necessarily, I don't think, is a hook and the viral stuff. So this is the sort of content that needs to be on the BBC website or needs to be seeded. I would urge you to come back and have a look at some of the stuff I did with BBC Comedy, but mostly, although they're all fine, the one that points it out is there's a film about cats and dating. It's called Single White Feline. It was on that screen over there. And I commissioned it because I thought it had everything that needed to work to work online. So it's about how cats can stop you finding a date. And the great thing is we thought that on the online communities, there is a vertical, which is people who love fluffy cats. There's another one that's I'm a single woman. And actually, they're not like that. There's potentially some degree of crossover. I just thought, I'm not an expert. I didn't actually do any kind of profiling or anything on that. It was a hunch. And I think it's got about 3 million views or something, 1.5 on YouTube, and then it's been ripped off several times over. And it's no funnier than any other. I think it's quite funny. But the point is that I commissioned it because I thought this is just going to fly because it ticks all the boxes. So come back and have a look at that one. And if you could just roll VT. Thank you very much.
El mundo está creciendo en población y muchas de esas personas tienen necesidades básicas no cubiertas que solo a través de la ciencia y la colaboración vamos a tener proyectos exitosos.
Todos somos muchos los que vivimos ahí. siente que cae el cielo. Cuando yo me levanto, digo así, mi marido hasta parece agua, está echado en mi ropa, digo, se está haciendo, está frío. Estaba en el hospital, me lo volvieron a internar, me dijeron que era bronconeumonía. Yo pensé que se iba a morir, porque yo me veía muy mal.
En este estado necesitamos, en el tema de la vivienda, ofrecer opciones novedosas. De ahí que tenga un gran valor la posición solidaria de grupos como RepShare.
En este estado es la primera casa que se construye, pero la réplica es enorme.
Casa puede ser construida por la familia. Esto le da gran sentido de orgullo y de pertenencia a la familia, como es una casa limpia, segura y saludable. DuPont resina en paneles de polímeros ayuda a aislar y tener una resistencia mecánica más fuerte.
Nunca pensé que voy a alcanzar así, nunca.
La amistad entre Jorge y yo, entre nuestras empresas. Estamos buscando cambiar vidas en conjunto y ambos estamos trabajando para cumplir esa misión.